I am Dr. Heather Moore, owner of Total Performance Physical Therapy. Tonight we're going to talk about Achilles tendonitis. Well, where is your Achilles? It is back here. All right, so it is on the back of your leg. Here is your calf, and it goes into your Achilles tendon. So when you have Achilles tendonitis, generally you have pain right here in your Achilles. So in this little part in the back of your leg, down towards your ankle. Usually if you have pain up here, you're talking more about the calf, something going on in there. Achilles is down here, okay? So if you have pain down there, usually when you push off or when you're on your toes, you're gonna feel that a little bit more. You're gonna feel that pain. You may not be able to push off correctly. When you run, you may have to alter how you run so you're not pushing off your toes as much and irritating that Achilles. So it's really not a very large or very in-depth process to figure out if you have Achilles tendonitis. Generally, if you just touch in that area and you have pain in that area, and if you have pain when you stand up on your toes, that's generally an indication that there's an inflammation in the tendon, which is what a tendonitis is. So let's talk about what we do, how we fix it, and where do we go from here. So one of the first things you want to do is you want to make sure you have proper footwear. It is really important, especially if you're a runner, that you're changing those shoes quite frequently, a couple, 100 miles at most, and then you're getting that new pair of shoes. If you haven't been fit properly for a pair of shoes, you want to do that also. It is very important that you have a properly fitting shoe, whether you need a stability shoe, a neutral shoe, a supportive shoe, whatever you need to make sure that you find that out and that you get the proper shoe. It's super important when you're dealing with anything going on in your foot, whether it's Achilles tendonitis, plantar fasciitis, any sort of issue, any sort of pain that you have, even in your knee or your hip, that you make sure that you have that proper fitting footwear and that foot has been fit properly. So in order to make sure that that's one thing you can take out of the equation. I can tell you right now, I developed bad set of shin splints just recently because of the fact that I let my shoes go over what they needed to do. I literally bought new shoes, changed my shoes, my shin splints are gone. So it's really important that you don't ignore that. I change mine every 300 miles. Some do it less depending on how much you run, depending on what terrain you run on. That's my magic number. I've done enough of this running and I've done enough working out to understand that that is my number. Some people are more, some people are less, but your shoes break down and they are not as effective. So really make sure that you are changing them appropriately and at the right intervals. That's going to help. Make sure that you are also foam rolling. So one of the things that with Achilles tendonitis is you have to figure out why that inflammation is there. So it is not just there because it's there. It develops because you're compensating for something. Maybe you're having pain in your knee, or maybe you're having weakness in your hip. So some of the things we're going to go over tonight really aren't even going to focus on the Achilles because it is important that you train everything around it and you fix the reason that you have the Achilles tendonitis. If all you do is focus on the Achilles, and if you have Achilles tendonitis and all you're doing is getting treatment for the Achilles, it's not going to do anything. It'll calm it down, the inflammation will go away, but it's eventually going to come back, and probably sooner rather than later, because of the fact that you're not doing anything to correct the reason why you have Achilles tendonitis. Now, that's the more difficult part in figuring out what Achilles tendonitis is. It's not necessarily what you have, it's how did you get it. So it could be a hip weakness, it could be something going on with your knee, it could be how your foot lands, it could be a tightness in your gastroc, it could be a tightness elsewhere, it could be a weakness elsewhere. So just be aware that just because you have Achilles tendonitis does not mean that you have it because of the same reason the next person has it. So we're going to go over kind of 3 general things that you can do to fix the Achilles tendonitis problem and make sure that you are, make sure that if these 3 things don't work, that you follow up with a medical professional. If you want someone to take a look at your Achilles with a free consultation, all you have to do is call our office at 215-997-9898, and we'd be certainly happy to take a look at it for you. But just kind of 3 general things that you can do when you have that Achilles pain or you have that Achilles tendonitis. The first one we already discussed, and that's shoe wear. The second one you want to do is you want to work on your hip strength, because when your hips are failing or your hips are not strong enough, it's going to change how your foot hits the ground. When your foot hits the ground improperly or doesn't hit the ground correctly, that's going to inflame the Achilles. So one of the things that you can do is a really simple exercise. You're just going to balance on one leg. This leg is going to be not locked out straight, okay? Just slightly bent. And all you're going to do is drop your hip down and raise it up. My knee is not bending and straightening at all, okay? It is just a simple drop down and then lift up. Drop down and lift up. You're going to feel the leg that you're standing on working, not this hip. You might feel a little bit of work in that hip, but it's going to be mostly just the hip that you are standing on and dropping down. If you're getting into it and you're starting to bend your knee, you're not doing it correctly. You want to work that hip area. If you feel it in your quads, you're most likely bending and straightening your knee. So you just want to nice and easy, lift and lower, go slow, okay? You want to do about 3 sets of 15 on each. Most of you are going to start to feel the burn within the first 10 of those, and that's okay. Keep going. You don't want to feel pain, and you shouldn't feel pain because you're going to be standing on a flat surface, flat foot. The next thing you want to do to help Achilles tendonitis is actually you want to toe tap. So it's very simple. It's exactly as it sounds. Your foot is going to be, your heel is going to stay on the ground, and you're just going to lift your toes. This is going to help strengthen the front of your leg, which often is very imbalanced as opposed to the back of your leg, which can lead and help foster that Achilles tendonitis. So you want to make sure that the front of your leg is just as strong as the back of your leg. Now, I usually recommend doing this a minute 3 times. When you start to do this, you're going to have a hard time getting to a minute. So just start off nice and easy, about 30 seconds, nothing crazy. You are going to fatigue pretty quickly. It is something that people are like, that's ridiculous, and then they start doing it, and then they realize how hard it is. Do it once a day, no more than that, because you are going to fatigue. And the final thing that you can do for Achilles tendonitis is, I'm giving you 4 things, but one of the things that you do want to do is you want to actually get your hands on your Achilles. And it's a little bit difficult because it is in the back of your leg, but you really want to actually push your knuckle into the back of that calf and into that Achilles. Okay, you want to try and break up any knots, any inflammation that is up above that Achilles to help loosen up that muscle. It is really important. You're not going to fix anything down here if this is tight, if this has a bunch of knots in it. So it's really important that in order to fix what's going on down here, you fix what's going on up there. And a lot of times you're going to just push on this as hard as you can and really try and break up those knots. You want to be careful not to injure yourself if you push too hard, but you do want to make sure that you are working on the muscles. You want to make sure that you're loosening them up. If you are not comfortable with that part of it, that's okay. That's why we are here as physical therapists to help facilitate the loosening of those knots. And if you want a free consultation, all you have to do is call our office at 215-997-9898, and we'll be happy to get you in and work on those knots for you. It is important, though, that you deal with the Achilles tendonitis. Whenever you start to feel that pain, don't ignore it. It will start to go away if you don't do anything. And when it starts to go away, it means you're just changing how you're running. So you're going to change how your knee goes. You're going to change how your foot goes, just in order to be able to continue to run. And you're not fixing anything. And now all of a sudden, instead of just having Achilles tendonitis, you're going to wind up with IT banded tendonitis. You're going to wind up with jumper's knee. You're going to wind up with a whole host of issues instead of just Achilles tendonitis. So don't think that you outran it or you got rid of it just by running through it. You didn't. You're actually just compensating. You're finding different ways to get around it, and you're creating yourself more problems that will all, unfortunately, come to light down the road. If you are having pain in your foot or pain when you run, and you want a free consultation with a doctor of physical therapy, all you have to do is call our office at 215-997-9898, and we'd be happy to get you in. Thanks, and have a good day.